Happy Friday, everyone. It is round 16, the last of these bloody bye rounds. We're getting through it. I'm Warnie, coach of the Warn Dogs, and this is Drew Jones.
Coach of the Mountain Goats, the 40,000 goats.
Well,
nice to be with you, mate.
You should be happy with yourself at the moment, coming off
ready.
last night.
Yeah. Well, Isaac Heaney, if all my players score 126, I'm rolling into the top 30K. Thank you very much.
Go and catch Calvin. That's what you need to do.
Yeah, it's my only goal. I just haven't made much ground on him in recent weeks. There's been a correlation between his scores improving and mine, which I suppose suggests that we both have bad teams.
Exactly. So we're coming out of last night footy. I did tip the lines as well, which I'm pretty happy about for the work tipping because everyone else pretty much went with the Swans. So getting one back on those couple of people that are leading at the minute. So, Chad Warner, 128. Winner for the Dogs. Heaney, the 126, were good there. But it was Will Ashcroft and Dunkley as the top scorers in the game, with Ashcroft going 134. That's off the back of the 152 just before the bye as well. Genuine option in the mid-900s?
Well, I mean, the thing is that we know he's going to chuck in those crappy scores every now and then. But, geez, when he's on, God, he's a good player to watch. Like, if he gets to a point in his career when this is like the norm, he's going to be, well, the norm, no pun intended. He's also going to be a Charlie. He's an absolute gun. That's the first time we've seen Dunkley do anything this year. I drafted him with my first pick in Viver, and God, that was a disgusting decision. But he was really good last night. I think he relished the role early on Heaney, and then he got released, and they both just went on scoring sprees. Interesting game, wasn't it? Like, entertaining game, lots of good performances, some high fantasy scores. Something for everyone last night at the Gabba.
You see they're going to be at the pointy end, both of these sides there. We'll throw out there, Zach Bailey had a great game. He kicked a couple of snags for his 103. Errol Goulden was one, I think a lot of people were watching, and I know a few people went early on it, which I just didn't love, and it looked like it was going to be a good call early on too. 24 points in that first quarter, but it felt like he just had it on a string as well. Big third quarter where he did rack up 32 points, but they kind of put him on ice. I think it was about 65% time on ground in the last quarter there, just for the 12 points. But if you went into him, I guess you had to expect a score like that and maybe a time like that, like we saw in the last quarter. But he is good to go. That's the other thing from it. Like, he passes the eye test.
Oh, absolutely. The guy's a genuine gun. His first 7 quarters of this season were unbelievable. Like, he was going that well when he did his shoulder. He absolutely could get it going second half of the year. Like, it might be a guy we're looking into, which is why I think we like the 84. And hopefully next week he sort of just knocks it around for a 60, and then we can get him into our sides. But interesting. I know you haven't been massive on Heaney. Now that he's got through this tougher matchup, are you an advocate for targeting Isaac Heaney as a? I think his ownership is roughly like 18%. So would you be an advocate for targeting him going forward?
I think for sure. But I guess it's starting to get to that price where you're probably getting what you pay for him. But I love him. I think he's an absolute machine. He can score in different ways as well. Like, we don't just have to see him. I think he's now stringing together any forward time to actually score as well, which was always the worry in the flag. That was probably the thing. But now I think he's such an important part of how that makeup is in the midfield. And I don't know what the Errol factor was realistically going to be for him. I don't think it is a factor. So it's probably, in anything, maybe a positive thing.
Have you been aware of the Heaney pocket move?
So what do you got there?
So the Heaney pocket move is, apparently he's been doing it for quite a while, but I've noticed it more watching this season. So if the ball is sort of between 80 to 50 or 40 meters out, all Swans forwards push over to one side of the ground, and Isaac Heaney tries to isolate his midfield opponent
in be one out there
pocket, and then they just kick it up in the air and just let him outmuscle or try and take.
Which he can do, as we've seen plenty of times.
And then he's good enough, and he's good enough to then finish that goal from the pocket. It's a very satisfying to watch when you're an owner because you're like, it's like you're rubbing your hands together. Oh, the Heaney pocket move. Here we go. He's always in the game. And as you said, he can score a different way. Last time, only kicked 1 goal, but he lays 6 tackles, gets 8 marks. So occasionally he'll kick 4 and have 20. So he's a nice player to own, especially when you've got a bad team, because at least it's fun to watch. There's a reason to tune in. But yes, big night. Jasper Fletcher as well. So just a bit of backstory for everyone.
Big trade.
So Warnie and I are in the draft together. We did a slow draft. Ben Cotton from Fox Footy sort of started with his mates, and then they had a few extra spots, and Ben just thought, let's go to the top of the fantasy world. So threw out invites to
somehow we got a gig.
Yeah. To Warnie, obviously invited me because he knew I'm shit at fantasy. So got me in there. Moreira's Magic, Selby Listier is in. I can't remember if I've went out, but Selby's killing it. Will Schofield's got a good team. Warnie, you took Darcy Cameron quite early, which probably held your team back a bit. And my team was quite highly rated by the rest of the league early because I took Errol with my first pick, and then in Flanders, then Holmes and Dacos, which I thought was a good first 4 picks. But of course, now Flanders out for the season and Errol's been non-existent. But I offered Ryan Daniels a trade about 5 weeks ago, which was Dylan Moore for Jasper Fletcher. The reason I offered the trade, Warnie, was because I have about 5 75 average forwards, of which Dylan Moore is one. And it was like, Jasper Fletcher, like he's probably an 85, 90 guy really, but he's just having a bit of a crappy start to the year. And his scoring has been disgusting of late. Then Moore kicks 4 on the weekend. Looks like he might be getting it going. And then Ryan finally accepts the trade, which I'd forgotten about. Anyway, Fletcher had about 60 halfway through the second quarter, so it was looking like a pretty nice trade for me. Anyway, no one cares about our fantasy leagues, Warning. Should we talk about the teams?
We should talk about the teams, but just one little flag. I guess we saw it from the teams when Peter Laddams was named. And so Brodie Grundy ends up with a score of an 80, which... Well, he did give away 5 free kicks, so you can look at this in a couple of different ways. But that move...
He encroached.
Yeah.
4 times he encroached.
Yeah, we're at round 16. It's like these kids in the line at the canteen at school wanting to use their phones. You're not allowed to use your phones to pay for things, kids, because you're not allowed to have your phone at school. And it is now, we're nearly at the end of term 2. You should know by now, as Grundy should know at this time, that can't be doing that. But yeah, that's a bit of a bust. Well, a bust in the sense of he missed that game, and some coaches traded. I was one of those, and some people held on, and you probably haven't been rewarded for that hold through that management that game. So yeah, it's an interesting one that'll be to watch whether they keep Laddams in and how that might work for him. So yeah, that's a bit of an interesting one.
I'll give you the stats. So Laddams had 63% time on ground. He attended 11 centre bounces, 2 clearances. He did 44 ruck contests, 117 hit outs. I'm not sure it really worked.
No.
I think McLean instead of Laddams is probably a better look for the Swans. But, Brodie's brother did trade us.
Must have known something.
I don't know. The writing was on the wall, to be honest.
Should have just followed that move. All right, let's look at the teams then. Friday night footy is Hawthorn and GWS. Jack Dalton, Cowshed Deer and Flynn Perez are the ins for the Hawks, while they lost Weddle through that suspension. Jarman Impey in that hammy, and Cam Nairn has been omitted. The Giants have lost Laverty and Hogan to injury, bringing Grzeski, and then my man, Harry Brownlow Oliver, is coming in, which is handy, but he won't be able to be used this week. But anyway, that's a good thing. He might make a couple more dollars for me in this game. Obviously, both of these teams, well, they're not on a bye because this is the last bye round. Any targets from these two? We look at the Hawks and go, geez, they've got a nice little run coming, actually, that for basically the rest of the year. That looks good, and defenders as such. Could Carl Amon interest you as a defender with Impey out?
Yeah, I think if you're looking for pods, then I think Hawthorn throw up a few. I think you could go Sicily. I think you can go Amon. I think you could go Day and Newcomb. So Day and Newcomb are in the 8s in midfield. And then Amon and Sicily are probably the early 9s, say. But yeah, Hawks run is good, and I think Newcomb spent a bit of time in my team this week just because I'm sort of filling up the 22. And it's a different situation to, when you're in the 40K. Obviously, you've got some holes in your team. But yeah, the Hawks have a good run. I think the only issue is it's a risk because they're an AFL side in terms of fantasy points that spreads the love. They spread the load, don't they? There's not one midfielder that just dominates and pigs up, and they rebound through committee with even Battle, gets decent scores. I quite like Bailey McDonald. He hasn't come into his own at AFL level, but he's a bit of a dasher and can play. And then even Perez is sort of good ball in hand. And then, of course, you've got Impey coming back in too. So there's some risk attached, but I like the aim on move. I'm an aim on owner, as you know. So I'm hoping that he gets a bump in his returns.
Yeah, and then the Giants too. I guess go for your Ash or your Whitfield. I think it's still that order of Ash over Whitfield, especially off the back of Whitfield doing that forward time in the last quarter. But I don't know if that's something we'll see really too much of moving forward. As Calvin sort of said, he did a crap job of it, so they won't put him in that role again. So that's how his philosophy is with a lot of things, like with work and everything along the way as well for Calvinator. So if anyone knows it, that's going to be an interesting game tonight. But then tomorrow we get the 1:15 game. That is Carlton and your Eagles. That's at the Marvel Stadium, that one. No changes for the Blues. That means that no Wiedering and Dirksen stays in. So for anyone riding the cash gen there and having him in the side. For the Eagles, what do we got there? We have got Dersma back. Tom McCarthy's back, Jack Graham and Jack Hutchison, so 4 changes for them. Losing Tim Kelly through injury, but they've omitted Gross, Johnston, and also Josh Lindsay. So the big news out of that then, the changes there, is that Marcus Herbert holds his spot. Downgrade, number one downgrade target of this week, do you think?
Yeah, I'm fascinated they've actually left Herbert in the side ahead of Josh Lindsay, which I think is an interesting decision. There's no doubt Herbert's he's a mature body, and he's they have to play him really. They've brought him in on a 6-month contract. I always thought that he would get games in the end of the year. He was impressive on debut, wasn't he? Like it was a couple of weeks ago now. It was only North Melbourne, but just the physical side, he's got a little step. I think Derm even used his highlights on Footy Classified, just saying like this is what you get when you draft a 23, 24. A bit more of a well-rounded, complete game. I don't think he's going to get away from us.
No,
but I think there's a fair chance that he could well spend the rest of the year in the team. So I think next week is when I'll be getting Herbert in. I'd love to get him in this. I think I'm prioritising Banks for a few more points on field.
Yep.
I like the matchup against Collingwood as well. But I think he's the man you're going to go to.
If you want that sub 300K, he's the sort of guy to go for.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then, I was going to say it would be a relief to, let's say, particularly super owners that Willem Dersma is back in the side, because he is shaping as someone who you actually carry through the whole year now. He averages 86 in Supercoach.
He's been so good.
And with it. So many forced trades means he's been very handy.
I think he's got the rising star as an Eagles supporter. He should have that.
I think he deserves it. I think he just has he's just got a bigger game than Jagger. Jagger's accumulating, and he's been impressive at that. I think that does more. Kicks goals, takes big marks, more pressure acts. There's a lot going on with Willem. I think he's been exceptional so far this season. Jagger will be a great runner-up, I would say.
Yep.
The West Coast player has not won the Rising Star since 1996, warning.
Right.
I was looking at this yesterday. So Ben Cousins won the Norwich Rising Star in 96. But Judd lost to Revolt.
Oh, yeah.
And Judd, very good player, as you know. But Revolt had an exceptional year for a key position player. And then Harley Reid got suspended, so he couldn't win it either. So it would be the first Rising Star win for the Eagles in years.
Massive. Now, Blues have got a couple of nice games coming up, actually, starting with this one. Now, Hewitt has jumped on the radar for a few coaches. I don't think I could go there. Would you be able to do that with your side? Or do we have other options?
Hewitt is in my team, Warnie.
Have you
No,
traded him in?
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I know it's on the surface it seems crazy, silly, even cavalier, perhaps. Again, when you're in the 40Ks, nothing matters. The numbers don't lie. He's averaging over 100 in his last three. He's got he's got his midfield role back, and then you're allowing you get the bonus of him being a bit cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
It's a bit of a dirty purchase, like you don't tune into the footy to watch George Hewitt, but you hope that he gets his 28 and his 6 tackles and churn along. I think ultimately, Warnie, as you know, actually don't know, you have as in your side, there's a midfield spot that will be turned over in the next few weeks as a lot of coaches get back. If that doesn't work, I think it's an easy way to do it.
Yep.
It's a one up, one down, if you like. So I'm sort of hanging my hat on that, but just trying to I've got to find a way to climb these bloody rankings.
Well, that is definitely a pod there. Let's look at Collingwood and Richmond. So Pendle's back in, but Pod, speaking of them, Podarski has been omitted. We thought he was our great white hope for a forward rookie, just to be there and maybe make a few dollars. But he's been omitted. Ross is back in after that concussion. Ryan Mansell's also back in for the Tigers. Sonsi and Fawcett have been omitted. So I don't want to suggest anyone from the Tigers after bringing Tim Taranto last week, but we just have to bring your boy Sam Banks in. We've heard that much about him over the last couple of years of this podcast. It's just a no-brainer for us at that price, under 600K.
Yeah, great price, great role. It's definitely a lot of boxes. It feels pretty low risk, doesn't it? Like if it really fell flat this week, you could just take him down to Herbert next week or a Swadling or something. Ways you can juggle. You can loop in with Hawker Hahn if you put him in your defence. So there's lots of options. It's a versatile option in your team at that price. And a good matchup.
I guess the thing about the price as well, this is probably where he becomes that good pick for us, is that we're saving coin, which is one thing on some of these other options that you could be going for. There's lots of other defender options or even other positions that you could be going instead. But under 600K to do that, with that one eye on next week, and it might be Nasir, it might be Baslenka coming up or whoever it is, like that's where my brain just goes straight to, instead of paying 200K more, 300K more for a defender that is going to be better, may not necessarily be, because we know that he can go 90 plus, but this is just a bit of a no-brainer to have the cash there for someone that can be pretty close to what you might be getting from those other guys.
I couldn't agree more. And I think Josh Dacos is probably the one exception, because he has like a potential ceiling score coming this week. Yeah. But a lot of what you're paying for at sort of 800 to 900, realistically, are not going to average much more than Banks if he's in that receiver, kicking role in defence where he should get 85 to 90. So, yeah, it's just this is your classic fantasy move. Good player, played out of position, injured, lack of role, and returns to his natural home at a much cheaper price. It's fantasy 101, isn't it?
Darcy Cameron's going to be a watch for a lot of us as well that went there, because I did that from the Grundy. Pretty average last week. Not even average. It was pretty awful last week. So he's sort of on the radar to move, but hopefully in the Tigers matchup, because Nank does give up points, and obviously anyone else that was rucking there was giving up points as well for the Tigers. So let's hope that he can give us something this week, because the rucks are almost becoming a little bit of a headache again.
So I don't know if you wouldn't have listened to Fly's presser, but I asked a question, a research question on behalf of the Darcy Cameron community.
You're a good man.
I'm essentially saying, so Jordan Sweet won the hit-out battle between the 34 to 11 last week, but the clearances were exactly even between the two teams. Dan McStay was the second ruck who won 2 hit-outs, so he didn't shoot the lights out, but McRae actually praised McStay's role and said, he's been doing an underrated job for us. Hard to argue on the fact that he got 2 hits, that he's doing a great job. But yeah, Sweet dominated them. Sweet, I wouldn't say is a renowned leaper.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that Darcy Cameron can't jump at all. So he has the advantage there. So I said to Fly, are you looking at how you could change your ruck setup? Steen's out, but you've got Schmidt and you've got Nathan or Harrison Coe.
Yeah.
And he said it's something we're looking at. And I guess I think they've made some tweaks since the bye, see if they can sort out the clearance issue, and they were able to break even last week. I just think that this week would have been a good one to try it because Nick is just so gettable in those centre bounces, but maybe they're just like, well, we'll just let Darcy Cameron have a crack at it. So you'll get a better score this week, there's no doubt.
Let's go. Oh, and just on that there, Nick Dacos is your captain. Just don't think about anything other than that. That is going to be the most simple captain option. VC, I think he'll be for me going into Harry Sheasel, but I think we should be able to get a score from him there. So should be.
What do you think about Roy? What do you think about Roy saying he wants to go Josh Dacos for 1 week and then move him to Naz?
I don't know where his brain's going with that, to be honest, because if you're buying someone like a Josh Dacos who has the ability to score, and that's it. I guess that's the flag on Dacos. Should dominate this week, but then it does get tougher for him. Like looking at the scale of hardness, it's not all roses for him after this week, which is probably the little flag in buying him. So let's have a look then. Now, Saturday night, it is a showdown, Port Adelaide and Adelaide. Dante Vizentini is in, so they'll be going the dual ruck setup this week with Ollie Wines in, Jacob Ware, Zirk Thatcher, and also Mitch Azzato, who's a 230k forward option. Tommy Cochrane, Life is a Highway, has been omitted, as is Harrison Ram and Toddy Marshall. Knee injuries for Ewan McKinley and Sava Radagalia for those guys. For the Crows, so Isaac Cumming, Josh Worrell come back in. Worrell comes back in after the week out with Nick Murray omitted. And my man, Wayne has gone away, Miller. He is out with a bit of a hammy, which apparently was picked up on Wednesday at training. So this is an interesting part for any other Wayne owners like myself. There's not too many of us out there, but I think I'm trading, and it's almost a bit of an aggressive move, I suppose, in that we, don't know heaps about it, but if it's a little nick that happened there at training, and it might just be a really minor strain, as what they've said, you just don't want to risk that going into next week because we're almost at that luxury trade season. If Roy's talking about getting someone like Jordan, getting Dacos for a week, I think we can be trading out Miller.
So you're going to have to make 2 defensive trades.
Bit of DPP switches are in there for me, so that helps. Okay. But how mine looks basically is the Sinclair and Miller will go. So I miss out on the midfield rookie, and I'll be going to Kai Anand. So that's what I'll do on the bench, which then gets Banks, and that's where my cash gets freed up to get Jack Steele up, and also plenty of cash for next week. So Nasiah comes in. So it's almost like the back line as it stands this week won't look like I want it to look like next week with Naz coming into that spot.
Interesting.
The 2-week play.
Yeah, cashed up for next week. Yeah, I'm in an interesting spot where I've still got Josh Lindsay and Milan Murdoch, who are, as of next week, a D7 and F7. So I can pretty much sort of put those two together and get to a premium. Hopefully I haven't done all the math. Hopefully it's enough for Naz, but if not, the third trade can jimmy that money around. But it's been very unusual for me to do a 1 up, 1 down this year. It hasn't happened too often. So
we don't get the opportunity to do it. That's the problem. No, all these bloody injuries.
It hasn't happened. We've just been shifting around premiums. I still think my team at the start of the year is better than the team I have now, which is quite extraordinary after about 40 trades. I don't know, there's a lot from a fantasy perspective to get too excited about from the showdown. Really, is there? Like on the off chance that Dacos has to get injured to not get a captainable score against the Tigers. So if that was to happen, if you're line of defense didn't work, would you be willing to go into Dawson on a Saturday night, or is it just Sheasel? Is it that simple?
Oh, it's just Sheasel. It's simple for me, but I do Dawson. Like, we haven't seen many players have this form. Like, it doesn't even have to have massive disposal numbers to do it, because he is going forward to kick goals. He'll mark, he'll tackle, he'll do the lot. So, it would be good. Another big game. Loves playing a big game. So you could do that. But, yeah, we're all probably in that position where we're all Dawson owners by now as well. That's the part of it, that he's not going to be sort of a unique one in that one for us. Horn Francis in the middle as well. Could be a nice little pod there as well, because I don't know, does he cop the attention at all?
I mean, if you're not putting someone on Horn Francis in forward half stoppages, then you're not coaching correctly. Peatling,
that's
probably with a body on.
Yeah. Seems like what they'd do.
But, he's a gun. He's still going to score well. Like Butters and Francis, they're almost bulletproof in terms of, like, they're so influential. But yeah, I don't know. It's not in my interest too much from fantasy.
No, the only other one there too, the Lockie McAndrew owners that did hold through the buys, and rather than making that move, making that trade,
yes,
you'd be happy with that. However, this now having the dual ruck set up might just make things a little bit tougher for him. So, but I'd still just keep rolling with it. And if you didn't have Max, get through this week and get Max from him next week. That's kind of your play with that one, I reckon. So, all right, let's look at Sunday. A couple of games, 3:15 for North and the Bombers. I'm sure everyone will be tuning into this one, getting excited about that. X is out with that jaw, so it sounds like it's a week or two. Like, I don't think they've been too definitive with it. That's what Clarko sort of said with that. Go to Callum Coleman-Jones, Will Dawson and Riley Hardiman into the squad for the Bombers. They've got 3 outs there in Archie Roberts, so it feels like ages since we talked about that, but this is their first game after the bye. So Archie Roberts, but he might be back for round 18, they said. So keep an eye on that one for your draft leagues. If anyone dropped him, I'll pick him up. Cole Langford's out injured, but they've omitted Elijah Sardis. So this poor bloke, his career, or at Essendon anyway, will be over very soon, you'd think, if he's not there, because they have brought in Jai Caldwell, Darcy Parish as those midfielders. Andy McGrath's in as well into the squad with El Hawley and Tom Edwards. So, yeah, big one. We're seeing and we keep hearing Zach's still going to play in behind the ball. That's everything we've heard so far.
Yeah, I mean, my view is that Zach's leaving at the end of the season, so it makes sense to play the future of your club in the midfield. And that's why I think the move of Durham into the midfield has sort of coincided with perhaps an acceptance that Zach's going.
So that's not going to change, you don't think? I think that's the thing with Sam. You're going to just, if you liked him before, these changes, they might give you a little bit of a flag, but still named in the guts. I think they're going to have to stick with it, aren't they, for most cases?
Yeah, the issue is Parish and Caldwell. I'm not as worried about Zach taking minutes. I think it's pretty sort of set that he's playing half back, but Parish can't play anywhere else. And honestly, when Caldwell doesn't play in the midfield, it's hard to watch. Yeah, I'm interested to see how Caldwell goes, because he hurt his nose ages ago and he's finally got that fixed so he can actually breathe properly. Right. That must have been having some sort of effect how he was playing. I obviously know all too well because I watched him closely at being an owner. He is so freaking cheap. If there was a world where like Parish wasn't in, like if Parish gets injured and it opens up a bit, I think he'd be a great pick later in the year. But I think also Cal's been pretty hot on this in being like Merritt's not a good option this week. I'm not sure North are going to tag Merritt at half back. I think Merritt has also been butchering it a little bit.
Yep.
So I don't know if he's going to get that much attention, to be honest. I'm not sure.
I'm not with him on that at all. I think he's just going to be set. He's going to be right. And no one's really done that yet anyway since he's gone back there in those last couple.
I think the issue is he's expensive.
Yeah.
It's a lot of investment to make in a week where you sort of want to have potentially cash for next week. I don't think he'll let you down. if you want to invest in him. Do you like Trembath in a draft league now with Sherry out?
Yep, we'll get a couple of week hit if you want him there, obviously with some forward status, which is handy for that one. Yeah, I definitely like that. I also like, your options there of a Luke Parker as a defender has been excellent. So I think he's just almost a
going there,
safe.
isn't he?
Yeah, he is. So, well, maybe that's your little flag and not to do it, but I think he's just a pretty safe guy that did show last week. He's got that ceiling, like he can have even big runs in a game, which is the other part of it that helps him out with his scoring. But, yeah, we'll see how that game plays out at 3:15 on Sunday. Can't wait to sit down for that one. But then
is this going to be a dirty game? Is it going to be a bit gross?
Well, it could be. It could be. And, like, that's the thing. You can see.
Does that bode well for Parker?
Yeah.
As like the chip game?
They might be just doing that. You can just sort of see it. Like the thing in my head, like it's a one under the roof, like they'll just a bit of Globetrotter party time. It could be
Zeeble.
In this game. Yep, Zeeble, Aaron Hall doing their things.
At Marvel.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's
anyway.
It's going to be, and then hopefully that works in the other end for Zach as well. That might be a thing that we can see there because that.
All right.
That's what's going to happen. Let's bring it home. Fremantle and Gold Coast, probably one of the games of the round here to finish it off. So Mason Cox has been omitted. So your big story there is Sean Darcy is in. So they've gone with that, which probably makes Luke Jackson a little less attractive. But I don't know how you can be any less attractive after having 166 last week, top score of the season so far. We'll see that, and the Suns matchup shouldn't be awful for him. But yeah, I think Darcy, like if we did a time on ground percentage, that could be a sub 50 for Darcy this week.
Yeah, I think if you were looking at making a trade in the ruck this week, it's hard to argue too hard that you'd be getting Jackson because we just don't know what it looks like with Darcy back in the team. Last week was a bit of an outlier, I think, with Chris clearly just allowing Jackson to run around. Not many teams are going to do that. So my dad sat next to Mitch Edwards on the flight.
Oh, right. Cool.
From Perth to Melbourne. So Mitch is a WA boy, so he stayed a few extra days. And I said this to Dad, and he this was not a joke that he was ever going to understand, but I was like, I said, "Oh, did you ask Mitch? Are you okay sitting down for so long? Getting rammed up the arse by Jackson for the entirety of the game." Apparently, Mitch, very nice man, got Dad's bag down from the top. He was sitting in the exit row, obviously, because he's such a large man. So, Mitch, you'll have better days, mate, but it's the very start of your career, a little bit. But yeah, I think it's hard to, isn't it? Like they easily wind Jackson's game time back a little bit over the last portion of the season. They can play him a little less in the ruck to keep him fresh for September. The ruck line just caused us a lot of grief to the point where do you like the look of English off the bye at a pretty reasonable price?
Yeah, we want to see him though, don't we? I'd like to see him another one, but yeah, definitely at a reasonable price. And the other one is the Rowan Marshall one at the moment too. Like he's sort of my target next week if the Cameron one needs to be done, which is that. And obviously Marshall's got the ruck forward status. So yeah, we probably have those options. That's where we're probably better off to shop, like in those sort of dollar values where it might be English. But I think Rowan Marshall, he almost feels like at this stage a bit of a no-brainer. We'll just have to see what the prognosis is for TDK. Have you got any inkling on that? They sort of said weeks.
Yeah, I mean, punctured lung and broken ribs. With other potential internal issues, I would say we'll get a timeline. I think going into their next game, so we should have a better idea. I think you also got to keep our fingers crossed that Rowan Marshall's okay.
Yeah. They did say they cleared him of the shoulder, but yeah,
a serious shoulder. I think it was still a little bit of TBC about that, but I think you'll find Rowe. I think you'll find Rowe will be leading the ruck for the Saints. solo off the back of the bye, which I think is possibly something we can't afford to miss.
Well, that's some goat fantasy news for you to do next week before we lock in any trades then. That's going to be an important part. Right now, let's finish off this one here. Oh, so Scary, Wagner and O'Meara also into the squad. So the Suns lost Closey through suspension, Rioli through the injury, and then Zach Evans and Dylan Patterson may make their debuts. No full-blown news on any of that yet after they've been debuting a couple of academy kids in the last couple of weeks. Will Power, Charlie Ballard and Ben Jepson also into the squad there. And, well, one of those academy boys, with spending over $400K for my man Jai, is that too much?
It's a lot for a bench player at this time of year, but he will make money.
Yeah.
And we still need to make cash. So
if you're stuck with needing him at M8, it's probably not a bad call.
But would you just get Herbert?
Yeah, well, that's right. Yep, agree.
But then, but Jai's probably going to score 10 to 15 points more. Yeah, so it depends.
Stuffy's been good.
Feeling.
70, 88 last week.
Nice fellow.
Yeah, he's a good rising star last week. Got to have a chat to him and loves his fantasy football, knows his stuff. He did actually mention, Calvin's captains has cooked him. That was a nice thing over the years. So I'm glad that he.
And as I said to you in response to that, he's not alone.
No, exactly.
We've all been there.
All copped it. Anyway, this is going to be interesting. Brayshaw might be someone that we could buy into if you wanted that cheap one. I think he's still under 900K, and he might be one. If you did see another one here, he could be one of those cheaper midfielders, because that's how we could almost finish off and fill out the midfield a little bit with these 900K-ish type players, and that might be the Will Ashcroft. It could be a Brayshaw if we can trust it, but trust is a factor there, I reckon, with Brayshaw.
Yeah, what about with Noah Anderson?
Yep. So I'm looking at him this week. So he's coming in for the Dogs as my Jack Steele. I'm hoping that it'll be okay. He's a little bit like we talked about the Zach Merritt thing there a bit. I don't know if he's going to be copping that attention at all when Petrarca's the one that they can go to and have been going to. And Noah, don't want to call it a butcher, but it was his disposal wasn't epic last week.
Yeah, it's a little unusual. Him, I feel like sort of was it 8 turnovers or something? Yeah, it was. Yeah. There was a lot going on. And he's an angry man right now.
He is.
The clip him looking at the umpire. There's a bit of frustration at the Suns. Obviously, they've lost 4 in a row. He has been absolutely sensational since returning from his appendectomy, and that just goes on a long list of screw ups from my team. So I would say. Jump on board, because a player that I have traded out
has to be good.
Could you this season?
How do you go as a coach for someone that you've traded out? Is it harder to buy them back?
There is no way, no how, no possibility in this world that he'll come back into this. There's no way.
That's pretty definitive. What are your trades then for this week going into round 16? These last of these bye rounds. What have you locked in, Banksy?
Yeah, so Sam Banks is in at the moment. George Stewart, I've been pretty steadfast on this all week that I'm going for the pod. And then Josh Dacos, I like the high upside this week. And I'm not totally against moving him out quickly, but it certainly won't be a cheeky 1 weeky. And yeah, so Bruin goes out, see Sinclair, and then probably one other sort of irrelevant buyer player that I can't think of. But yeah, that's the crux of it. So 3 players who are unpriced, hoping for scores this week, filling out the squad for when we are off the back of the bye rounds, so we can get all the rookies off field.
Yep, nice. Well, I'll be my Sinclair, I'll be my Steele, and also then Wayne Miller. And that will get me the rookie in an and then I'm going to carry like it's 700 plus K just for getting Banksy and Noah Anderson. I think that's where I'm going at this stage. Things could change, but that's a lot of cash, which gets a rookie up to Nasai next week, and then I'll be in a position with whatever I do with the other trade, which is at this point maybe a bit of Royal Marshall in for Darcy Cameron.
Okay, I like it.
Bit of
Like where it's at.
pre-thinking. Anyway, let's get into it. Let's get stuck into this last round. I can't wait for these buys to be over. And then we hit 8 rounds to go, the last third of the season. 4 weeks until those fantasy finals. Make sure your teams are all set. Make sure you're following everything at GOAT Fantasy News everywhere to get plenty of great intel. Big week. Good luck, Drewy.
Thanks, Warnie. Catch you soon.